Hi everyone, Coach DeMarco here with another Get Better Basketball Live. And I'm going to fly solo today because I've gotten a number of questions from coaches about small-sided games, and in particular, ones that focus primarily on defense. So what I'm going to do today is walk you through one of my favorite SSGs that I used with my team frequently in practice, especially early on in the season, that has an emphasis on defense. It's great for closing out. It's great for playing in scramble situations. And there's a number of other benefits to this. Also, on the offensive side of the ball, players are going to learn how to play out of closeouts and use decision making on when to finish and when to read the defense and make a kick out. Or in some instances, if you go to the 3-versus-3 version, when to make a one more pass for an open three-pointer. You're going to love this SSG, and there's a lot of ways that you can incorporate it with your team. Another Get Better Basketball Live is up now. Coach DeMarco here with another Get Better Basketball Live, and today we're talking SSGs. As we know, there's been a bit of an SSG revolution in the game of basketball, and rightfully so. SSGs can benefit your team in a number of different ways. So before I share with you today's 2-versus-2 or 3-versus-3 defensive SSG, which will focus on closeouts, I want to talk to you about a couple of ways that using small-sided games with your team will help them to improve over the course of the season. Let's take a look. As we know, there are many benefits to using SSGs, but I want to take you through a couple in particular that you can really think about as you use them with your team this season. Or if you're not using SSGs with your team, these will be a couple of reasons that I think you should incorporate them in practice. First, you can get in more reps in a smaller amount of time with your team. In 5-versus-5, you're going to have 10 players on the floor, but you could use 3 different baskets for SSGs and play 2-versus-2. That means you're going to have 12 players that are getting reps. If you play 3-versus-3 at 3 different baskets, then you're going to have 18 players that are getting reps at the same time. That's a lot more reps that they're going to be getting in than if it's only 10 players on the floor. What I like to do is have a team of 3-versus-3 with 3 players on the side waiting. So I would have 9 players on one end of the floor and another 9 players on the other end of the floor, so about 18 players total, and have them getting reps. I would pull in some of the junior varsity players to make this happen. The other thing you can do is have 2-versus-2 with 2 waiting on the side, and you're going to have about 12 players in total, 6 on one end and 6 on the other. That's perfect for a varsity team of 12, and you can get in a lot of reps in that small amount of time. Secondly, as I noted, you're going to get more players involved in this amount of time. 18 players getting involved at 3 different baskets, or 12 players getting involved in 2 different baskets. You don't have players that are sitting around waiting because the reps are going to be very quickly. It's going to be a basket or a defensive stop and a new team's on, and you can continuously rotate players onto the floor. They're highly competitive. If you have 3 teams at a basket, 4-versus-4 or 3-versus-3, there's going to be an element of competition, and you're going to keep track of points. And I really like doing this in SSGs, especially because you can focus in on certain skills. For example, closeouts, getting stops on defense, rotations on defense, or you can focus in on certain actions within your offense, as we've seen coaches talk about. You can coach players up on the fly. If you have 3-versus-3 at a hoop with 3 waiting on the side, you can have an assistant coach with those 3 players working with them. When a team comes off the floor, the head coach, the assistant coach, whoever it might be, could be giving feedback to those players that just came off the floor who lost for one reason or another. You can focus in on specific skills. As I noted, you might want to hone in on box outs or closeouts. On the offensive side of the floor, you might want to focus in on a specific action within your offense, offensive rebounding, shooting. There's so many different things you can look at in SSGs. They're a little bit harder in a 5-versus-5 scrimmage type format. You can teach players decision making, and what I really like is the breakdown aspect of SSGs. By going 2-versus-2, you can teach players to drive and then read the extra defender and kick. You could do that in a 3 versus 3 format that we're going to talk about today and teach players when to make the extra pass. And of course, there's the defensive aspect to it where players are learning rotations. So there's decision making on both sides of the ball, which brings me to my last point. It benefits both sides of the game. Coaches love SSGs because you incorporate offense and defense in each SSG. The one thing I want to say is that I would not substitute this for basic fundamental skills. In my opinion, you still need your breakdown drills on defense and on offense before you get into SSGs. And then the transition after SSGs is typically that whole group format where you're going 5 versus 5 and seeing how what players have learned in breakdown drills and 5 versus 5 situations can be put into play in an SSG. Now we're going to take a look at 2 versus 2 closeouts, which is one of my favorite SSGs and something you can use with your team at all levels. As I noted, this is one of my favorite SSGs because it teaches players on the defensive side of the floor how to close out, rotate, and play one-on-one defense. On the offensive side of the floor, it teaches players how to play out of closeouts and make decisions in the paint. As we look at this drill, notice that I put N1 and N2 over here on the side. Those are our next 2 players up. What I typically like to do is have the team on defense that gets a stop stay on the floor. And if the offense scores a basket, they get to go play defense and the defense will come off. If the D gets a stop, they get to stay on the floor and they get a point, and offense would switch with our N1 and N2, which are our next 2 players up. I have a coach up here at the top that initiates the action. When I do a breakdown drill for this, I typically have a coach here and a coach here, and they're just going to pass back and forth. And these 2 players are going to close out and then get into help. After that breakdown drill, the next progression is this 2 versus 2 SSG. We're going to have the coach make a pass over to O1. D1 is going to come out here, and they're going to sprint to a closeout, and D2 is going to say, I got help, I got help. Communication is really important. Great breakdown drill to teach that aspect of the game. So we're going to take our D1 and we're going to put them over here, and then D2 is in the paint. O1 and O2 are going to skip back and forth. And the purpose of this is just to get the defense rotating. When this coach at the top blows their whistle, we're going to go live. So right now we're going to say O1 skips over to O2. So what's going to happen, and why I like this, is because our D1 is going to sprint into help, and our D2 is going to sprint to close out. Whatever type of closeouts you teach your team, whether it's flyby closeouts, hockey stops, choppy steps, high hands, you can work on in this specific drill after you've coached players on it and done your breakdown drills. And I think that's so important to keep mentioning because I do think there are some steps before you get into your SSGs. Once we play live, so we say O2's here, D2's here, and then we have our O1 and we have our D1 in the paint now, and they're a help defender. And when O2 skips over, let's say that our coach blows their whistle, D1's going to close out, and then we're going to play live. D2 is going to sprint back into help. We're going to have D1 over here playing one-on-one defense. O1 attacks. If D2 has to help, it opens up a skip out to the outside and an open shooting opportunity, or it's a scramble situation. So really, really basic way to start is just 2 versus 2. And again, if the defense gets a stop, they get a point, they stay on the floor. If the offense scores, they get to go play defense. N1 and N2 will come on offense. I really like this because I feel like you could really emphasize defense by giving them points on that side of the floor. And then on the offensive side of the floor, players play out of closeouts, teaches decision making. There's so many benefits to it. Next thing I want to show you is how to do this 3 versus 3. So in 3 versus 3, you can set the players up in a couple of different ways. I set up O1 and O2 in the same spots, and then I put O3 down here in the corner. The reason I like doing this is because you get that skip pass, which is going to cause a scramble, and then is a one more passing opportunity with D3 closing out. So again, I would just have 0-1, 0-2, and 0-3 passing the ball. You can get all different types of skip passes, have these players working in and out of help, and then when the coach blows the whistle, they're going to go live. So this is one kind of setup you could do. The other thing you could certainly do is you could have your 0-1 at the top, you could have 0-2 over here, and you could have 0-3 over here. And what I like about either of these setups is that you're going to teach players either to deny or get into the gap or whatever you do defensively. By adding that third player in, I feel like it really adds that element of defense into this SSG. So if you're a gap team right now, you're going to have your D2 and your D3 here when 0-1 has the ball and D1's putting that ball pressure. If you're a deny team, you're going to have them maybe on the line, up the line, and you're going to have those players a little tighter. Whatever you want to do. As the ball gets swung around, you're going to have 0-2 with the ball and D2 again putting ball pressure in, and D3 is going to have to slide into the paint. If the coach blows the whistle live on that pass and 0-2 drives, your D3 is going to have to get in for help, and it's going to open up those skip out opportunities. So there's a lot of different things that you can do out of this, and you can really mold it and make it however you want. And of course, you could go to 4 versus 4 situations. You could have a player in the dunker spot down here, or you could have players around the perimeter. Reason I really like this drill, and I keep going back to it, is because I feel like there's a lot of different things you're working on. Offensively, playing out of closeouts, decision-making in the paint, and then defensively, scramble situations, and you're working on closeouts, whatever you teach. Again, I want to go back to, and I've said this a couple times, I think it's really important to coach players up on the fundamental skills before you get into this type of SSG, and then you can kind of coach them on the fly. You could tell players, hey, you were late on your closeout. You didn't do choppy feet, high hands, or you didn't do hockey stop, or you didn't fly by and recover. There's a lot of different ways that you can coach closeouts, obviously. So whatever your preference is, you can incorporate it into this drill. 2 versus 2 is ideal in the beginning, and then you add in a number of different elements by going 3v3 or 4 versus 4. This lines up with everything that I talked about with SSGs. So just to take you through the progression one more time, I would teach closeouts and how to attack closeouts first and foremost. The second step is I would have a coach here and a coach here. You can do players if you don't have a lot of assistant coaches, but the idea is this player's saying, I got ball. On the skip pass, they're closing out. They're coming into the paint. I got ball. I got help. And on the skip, we're going back and forth. And all we're doing is working on closeouts and I got help. I got ball. I got help. And we're not playing live. When we get into the 2 versus 2 SSG on the coach's whistle, on a skip pass, whistle's blown. Whatever player has the ball then attacks the basket. If you get a stop on defense, you get a point. If you score on offense, you get to switch to defense. And I would have a couple of teams rotating through here. So there's a progression to teaching this. And then obviously you go 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4, and eventually you're going to go to a 5 versus 5 situation where you're going to have players competing with each other, but also you could focus in on some of these skills, closeouts and playing out of closeouts. There's certainly ways to create advantages in 5 versus 5 situations as well. The last couple of weeks, I've gotten a number of different questions on defensive SSGs. So I hope this one gives you an idea that it can be really, really simple. It's 2 versus 2. You're sprinting the closeouts on the whistle. You're playing live. There's a lot of different things you can do with your team in similar situations to simulate what they're going to experience in a game. This is just one example. You could take this idea, and I'm sure you can find other ways that would work best for your team. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more great videos just like it every single week. Turn on your notifications and leave me a comment below. I love to hear how coaches are incorporating the things I share or other coaches share on my channel with their team. And of course, make sure you like the video because I share many great videos just like this one every single week. As always, get better every day.